Hi, guys. Welcome back. Sometimes a lot of us can really get stuck in our thoughts. And although we like to think that we're positive, peppy, and upbeat people, sometimes our thoughts can really bring us down. Sometimes, whether we're thinking about yesterday, today, or even our future, sometimes we're just in the wrong state of mind. Today's YouTuber is Forever, and the name of Forever's video is Where is My Confidence? If you can relate, let us know down in the comments, and I hope you enjoy the video.
It's my first time doing I don't even know, I guess just a little conversation, recording myself, just talking. A hard thing for me to do because for so long I feel like my confidence was really low. Can go back through life and pick out little things, but that's not really the focus now. The focus is trying to heal from those feelings of being inadequate, feelings of being less than other people, maybe in the looks department. Listen, I always wanted to have a body yaddy yaddy. I wanted to be one of them girls with the booty. Unfortunately, I got a lot, but not that. So I think growing up, it really I'm serious. I don't even know why it was so big for me to like want that. I guess it was because that's what maybe the people that I was around got more attention, and which goes back to my self-worth or my confidence, because I'm thinking the only way that I can get the attention from the guys was to have the body.
I can almost feel her searching through her history and past, picturing herself back in grade school, middle school, high school, college, you name it, right? And you can almost picture her being there next to her girlfriends, and then guys come up and maybe they ignore her for the friend. I've had that situation. Many of you guys have had that situation. Forever, a lot of us have been there, but I know that this is something that is sticking with you. This is why I always tell people, take a walk. You take a walk and pretty soon you'll feel the sunshine on your face. You'll feel the breeze and the wind, passing you by as you walk through it. And before you know it, you don't even know what you were upset or feeling down about. So please contemplate taking a walk with me.
Yeah, it's crazy when you really start thinking about who you are for real. When you start spending a lot of time by yourself, you get to see the little things and the ways that I think now, how they kind of go back to childhood. And a lot of times we kind of blame current situations. Like some of us may be in relationships, and we kind of say the person that we're in a relationship, it's their fault, or even just blame it on different things. My job ain't going the way I wanted. Like everything or all our issues and our problems are because of everything. But really, we need to look within inside of ourselves. And that's one thing that I've been doing. Been spending a lot of time alone. A whole lot of time by myself.
It's sobering, but it's so true. A lot of our problems are not that 12-year-old that picked on us in the fifth and sixth grade. It wasn't necessarily that family member that treated us wrong, although that could have been something that didn't help, right? A lot of times our problems are because of us. And so I can really respect the idea that she's trying to get to know herself better through self-reflection, right? And spending some time alone. Once again, when you go on a walk, to have that half hour or 45 minutes alone by yourself, not only can you solve problems, but sometimes you can actually solve issues within yourself.
When you spend time by yourself, you really get a chance to look within. So I did all the pointing the finger. I did all the, your fault, your fault, your fault. Now I have to see where I could have done better. Because a lot of times, a lot of the ways that we are and a lot of the choices that we make stem from things that may have happened or things that didn't happen in our lives, or people that were there or people that wasn't there. A lot of times the way we are and the choices that we make stem from those things. And in order to overcome, we have to go back and research. We have to figure out what was wrong with me. But why did I move like that? Why did I think that way?
A lot of times I ask myself that very question. Why did I react this way? Why did I go down this path? Why didn't I take a step back and think about that situation a little bit more? Now, the truth is, you can't have regrets because you can't go back in the past. But moving forward, you can learn from those mistakes by taking a step back, by taking a walk on things, pondering stuff. Don't quit your job before you have another job to jump into, right? Think about what you're doing because every single action you take is going to have a domino effect down the line.
A lot of times we need to go back and research ourselves. And I've been doing that, and I see a lot of the doubts and the fears that I've experienced as an adult stem from situations that happened in my childhood. Life happens even to kids. Or, it is not necessarily something that happened to me, but maybe happened to people around me that affected me. Like, it's so much that it could possibly be. It's just acknowledging my poor decisions. Now, I have good qualities too. We really don't have to spend much time thinking about the good part, because the good part is good. But I'm talking about the deep things that's down inside you. And sometimes you have stuff down inside you didn't even know was there until something triggers you, and it's like front and center. This situation happened to me in my early 40s. Had no idea that I had these issues or this stuff was even there. But it just so happened that that's kind of around the time that I started my journey to better. I call it from a journey from bitter to better. And that's kind of around the time I really started to dive into my journey. Instead of seeing things one way, I started to look at stuff from different aspects. Your thoughts you have to look at a big picture. When you was in school and they told you to research, and you had, this is the topic, but you had subtopics, and you had, all the little bubbles over here, and I can't remember what they call it, but
Ladies, you know how you'll be talking about your ex-boyfriend or your ex-husband, right? And you always tell your friends how he was the narcissist that made everything bad. What Forever is saying here is that if you really look at it, and you really look within and look at yourself, probably you were the narcissist half the time. It's not just somebody else's fault. Sometimes we have to take a little responsibility ourselves. So why don't you take this responsibility? Go get your shoes. Let's go for a walk. Good morning. Good. Have a good walk. Good morning, Venters. There's Nickel and Dime. He's actually a pretty nice guy. He said good morning. Now I officially know
that nickel and dime and 2 cents are two different people. So kind of interesting there. The way I can tell the difference is the color of their dogs. One has a black and gold colored German Shepherd, and the other has a gray colored dog that looks like it's from a black and white TV set. And then there goes our red Venter LeBeau. I'm really interested to know how many red t-shirts LeBeau has, because I can't imagine her wearing the same shirt every time, right? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I'm excited because today is August 14th, which pretty much marks the middle part of August. We are almost done with the summer. We still have an additional 10 days, according to the 10-day forecast, of weather in that 107 to 110 range this upcoming week and next. So we're going to end up hitting close to 80 or 90 days in a row of 100 plus degree temperatures. But guys, we do this pretty much every year unless it rains for multiple days during the monsoon and we have that 1 or 2 days where it pops into the high 90s, but that never really happens. Guys, I heard a fun story today, and of course I'd like to thank our friends at the Good News Network for this one. This one's actually really a good, cute little story. So a mom, I say mum because in America we call them moms, but in Scotland and Wales and different parts of the world they call them a mum, right? So a mum, Sarah Vincent, gave birth to a beautiful baby girl in the lobby of Cinema World in a town near Cardiff, Wales. And the baby's name was Baby Lowry. She was born 7 pounds, 0 ounces from what it said. A moviegoer named Amy Screen, which seems ironic because, you know, when you go to the movies, you're watching a movie on the big screen. So Amy, big screen, and cinema staff, they set up some different screens and partitions because apparently Sarah Vincent couldn't make it to her car, couldn't make it to wait for the ambulance, right? She literally, her water broke right there while they were watching Sing 2. So that's my next question to you guys. Have you guys watched Sing or Sing 2? If you have, if you're familiar with this movie, let me know down in the comments. I have a feeling it's one of these probably cartoon movies. So if you know for sure if it is or not, let us know. But check this out. This is where I'm a little jealous of Baby Lowry. I think we all love movies. Check this out. Baby Lowry Miles now has free movie tickets for life as an honorary Cinema World member. Yay, Baby Lowry! How exciting. Now watch, in the future, they'll give her a free movie ticket for life, right? But she must buy a popcorn and a large drink, and that'll just be $39.95. So I thought that was kind of a neat story. Imagine you go there, you're watching a movie with your father and your son, because she was there with her 3-year-old son and her father. And then imagine your water breaks as you try to go to the bathroom, and all of a sudden you're stuck there on the floor of the lobby, hoping moviegoers and cinema staff can help you give birth to your baby. And apparently the baby came so fast that they didn't even have the help of an ambulance yet. So hopefully the ambulance got there soon thereafter. And apparently the baby's very healthy. So congratulations, mom or mum, and may Baby Lowry have a beautiful and wonderful and fruitful life and enjoy a lot of movies. Hopefully there will be more movies to choose from in the future other than just Deadpool Part 35 and Star Wars Part 90 and Saw Part 72 and Jaws Part 38 and Halloween Part 15. I think it's really lazy when Hollywood just keeps doing the same type of movies. Now, don't get me wrong, Marvel and DC are a little bit different because even though they make all these superhero movies, they're technically part of this superhero universe, right? So technically speaking, you could have a Deadpool Part 38 and it's still original. But my goodness, is it just me, or have we been bombarded with sequel after sequel after sequel. I know that the archetypes of movies, man versus self, man versus nature, I know all these movies have already been done, and there's no such thing as a new, fresh idea. But seriously, can we come up with a new, fresh idea, please? Holy moly. One of my favorite movies is A Few Good Men. And the reason I love this movie is the very opening scene, they show Private Santiago's closet. And if you remember, his closet is perfectly kept. Bunch of suits, bunch of jackets, right? Because Private Santiago was supposed to be moved from that island at 0700 hours the next morning. You can't handle the truth. I want the truth. So anyway, that's one of my favorite movies. Why? Because later on in the movie, you realize how important that first scene is. If Private Santiago was ordered by you, Colonel Jessup, not to be messed with, and if people follow your orders or else they die, I know what I said, Cappy. You can't handle the truth. You need me on that wall. God, that's such a good movie. And you end up finding out that that movie is the reason why you need to be aware of every movie you watch right from the first minute. Otherwise, you could be missing an important clue. So that's why A Few Good Men goes down in movie theater history, or in movie history, I should say, as one of the finest movies ever made, in my opinion. And to think nowadays that movie would be set on the back burner so that they could make Batman Part 86 just really bugs me. I think what we need to do is we need to bring back the movies that have nothing to do with superheroes. We need to bring back the movies that have nothing to do with Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, or Freddy Krueger. We need to bring back movies that make you think. I remember when I was, I think I was like 17 or 18 or 19, and all of a sudden we saw these billboards with this guy at a bus stop, and it just said one word, Gump. And there was millions of these billboards. Do you guys remember these Gump billboards? And then months later, they finally come out with this Forrest Gump movie. And I remember me and my fiance at the time, Angie, the mother of my daughter, we went and saw this movie, Forrest Gump, with Tom Hanks. Guys, that movie was one of the absolute best movies I've ever seen to this day. And there were so many good movies back then. We had A Few Good Men, we had Jurassic Park, we had Forrest Gump, we had Apollo 13. All these movies came out within like a couple of years of one another. Deep Impact, Armageddon with Bruce Willis. All these different movies that are just really iconic movies from back in the day. I feel like there's been a step off. I feel like we don't have nearly that many movies that are good. And our comedies, because of the world we live in now, comedy was always about poking fun at things that are very real, but being able to laugh about them, because that's what comedy's all about. It's got its roots in sadness, depression, and grief. That's why we love it so much, because instead of being sad, depressed, and grieved over things, we're able to chuckle and laugh. So even back then, one of my favorite comedies was like Half Baked, and you remember Friday came out back then? Oh my goodness, if you ever watch Half Baked or Friday, God, those are some of the best movies of all time. And I don't even know if they would make those movies anymore. I feel like the young people nowadays that are growing up, all they're watching is Marvel comic movies. And yes, those are funny. Yes, they tend to look fantastic. Yes, they are worth the price of admission. So I don't want you to think these movies aren't good. But I mean, how much imagination do you need when you have characters that have all these superpowers? It really kind of cheapens a movie after a while, in my opinion. Like Star Wars, I watched the first 3 Star Wars. Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. I was done with Star Wars in the 80s. All of a sudden, we've got Star Wars Part 76 coming out, and it's just a little ridiculous. You know, they take Yoda and they make Yoda look like a little baby, and all of a sudden we're in love with Star Wars again. They make Groot, the giant Groot, they make him the little Groot, and all of a sudden we love that movie again. By the way, I do love Groot. I am particularly fond of Groot, and I do love these movies that I'm complaining about, just like you guys do. I'm only complaining that it seems like nowadays when we have a movie that is successful, the first thing that we do is we figure out how to make a sequel out of it. The only movie that I feel like they should have made a sequel out of that they never did was Goonies. They need to remake Goonies. You don't even have to make it a sequel. Make it the exact same storyline, but with today's kid actors. Do that if you need to. But that would be a movie that would be guaranteed to be #1 at the box office. And because the original Goonies came out, 30 some odd years ago, maybe close to 40 years ago, the original Goonies was so popular that not only would parents take their kids to see it, you would have grandparents going to that movie. It is time. Can we get some confirmation down in the comments section, Venters? It's time for Goonies, the remake, or Goonies Part 2 to bust out. You could easily take all those kids, show them now at middle age, and make it where they're the grandparents of the next level of kids that are going to go on their adventure. I'm ready for Goonies. Even with that being said, I would be okay if they just came out with a movie that was like Goonies, but with a different title and different name, so it didn't have that distinction of being a sequel. They just need to come out with some more adventure movies like that. Another movie that I think we can all say that we all loved just as much as the Goonies was a movie called The Never-Ending Story. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they might have made a sequel to that, but I don't think it was as popular. Now, I could be wrong. I might be having a false memory. There was a good movie that no one ever talks about that I absolutely loved. There was a movie in the 80s called Return to Oz with iconic characters like TikTok. And if you guys saw this, it was basically a sequel to The Wizard of Oz. And it's funny because when we talk about famous sequels for movies, a lot of times we talk about the movies that I've already talked about, you know, the Marvel hero movies, the movies, you know, that, God, it was just at the tip of my tongue, Jaws. My goodness, even Jaws has 5 or 6 parts, right? But I think we would be better set to get some other movies going. I'm excited. So yeah, we need an iconic movie. We need to bust out with Never-Ending Stories. We need to bust out with Goonies. We need to get some good movies there. Sometimes in the morning I'll be talking and then I'll have a brain fart and it's like, what the hell was I just saying? I think that happens to all of us. It happens to me in the mornings because a lot of times I literally wake up, I go to Copilot and I say, hey, I just read a story on a girl that was born in a movie theater. Can you bullet point this bad boy for me? And by the way, if you're thinking about doing a YouTube channel and you want to talk about stories on there, you can go to any website, read any story, and then ask your buddy Copilot to bullet point it for you. And boom, all of a sudden you have a bunch of talking points that you can talk about. And that literally takes 30 seconds. So again, if you're thinking about doing a YouTube channel and you want to do a walking channel or you want to do any type of talking head channel, and you want to have access to really good things to talk about, use Copilot. So even though I'm afraid that artificial intelligence is going to take a bunch of people's jobs, I use artificial intelligence in the form of ChatGPT and Copilot all the time. And I recommend you do it too. And if you are a YouTuber, which I know a couple of my subscribers are, use Copilot. Ask it to bullet point some stories for you that you're hearing on the news. And it just takes away a lot of the time, energy, and efforts so that you can focus on more fun things like actually hitting record and talking to your viewers. Yay! Is Jesse teaching us how to be a YouTuber? Not really. Not really. So yeah, we used to have really good movies, and I fear that now the kids still do have some good movies, because let's be honest, those little kids cartoons like Sing and stuff, those are good little movies for kids to watch. I don't have any grief with those. What I do have grief with is just, I think Hollywood's getting lazy. You know, Hollywood was going on strike, or they might still be on strike, and I remember about 20 years ago they were begging us, please don't pirate our music and please don't pirate our movies so that, you know, people get credit for them. Here we are 10, 15 years later, and all of a sudden movies are more expensive than ever. The movie stars are more rich than ever. Meanwhile, us, the people, we got to scrape together pennies to be able to afford a movie. That is kind of a downfall of movie theaters. When you decide to take out your family of 4, you know, you, your spouse, your 2 kids, it's really, really tough to go to a movie nowadays without investing $100. You know, if it costs everybody that goes to a movie $25 to get in, get a drink, get a popcorn, you know, do the math. For a family of 4, about $100. That's not always easy to do. So what do? We ditch the movie theater for pay-per-view on our TVs. And that's not really cool either, because what that's doing is it's killing a little piece of Americana. Remember, America has had a 100+ year love affair with movie theaters. We're kind of losing that. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still movies that pack the movie theaters, and that's good. Hey, here's our venter here on his daily walk. Hey, let's talk about the neighborhood here real quick that I live in. As you guys know, we have a handful of walkers that we see every day. I'm starting to wonder if Brett and his girlfriend and his dogs, I'm starting to wonder if they moved, because I'm sure you guys remember when I started these videos back in March or April, we had a situation where we ran into Brett almost once or twice a week. I haven't seen Brett in forever. And I feel like we haven't seen Stacy either. In case you guys want to know where Stacy can be found consistently, she is part of the Walk Talk Vent Facebook group. So if you're hearing my words and you haven't joined us on that Facebook group, please do. It's a place where we can share pictures, share ideas, and eventually I'm going to probably take some pictures of our group, and I'm going to probably put them into our video. So again, please contemplate the idea of joining our Facebook group. When I was growing up, we had basic television. We finally got cable, but because we were so frugal, we got basic cable, which gave us channels like WGN, TBS, ESPN, right? And so we enjoyed those channels. We felt like we had more to watch than ever. But then you would go to school and you'd find out about different channels that you didn't have, like Showtime and Cinemax and HBO. So as an adult, one of the things that I wanted to have access to that I didn't really have access to as a kid is I wanted some of those premium channels. But as an adult, you grow up, you raise a family, you start to pay bills, and you start to notice things that are kind of bothersome. For example, if you have all those movie channels, right, there are legitimately movies to watch nonstop on all of those channels. The problem is they play the same movie literally what seems like 50 or 60 times a month. So when you go to HBO, the odds of you actually seeing a movie that you haven't already seen become lower and lower as time goes by. And it gets to the point where it's like, God, do I really want to spend $14 a month so I can have HBO? I don't think it's worth it. I don't think a lot of things that were very much worth it back in the day are really worth it anymore. I love the movies. I will go to the movies forever. I will gladly pay the $100 to take my daughter and her husband and, you know, my granddaughter. I will gladly do that, or I will gladly let them pay while I go with them, right? But at the same time, man, you would be a fool not to pick and choose your movies with care. It almost makes you want to go to Rotten Tomatoes and just see what people think about a movie before you even invest a single penny in it. Because you know what? Back in the day, occasionally you would go and you would see a movie that really was a stinker, and you would feel cheated. Because why? Because in the trailers, they make every movie sound like it's the next great movie. And they show a lot of people's opinions of this movie, like Rolling Stone says this is the best movie to come along since such and such, right? So you go to the movie and you're like, what the hell was Rolling Stones thinking? Was Rolling Stone, the magazine, were they paid off to give this horrible ass movie these good reviews? So yes, that is a vent of mine. I can remember even back in the day, occasionally we would see a movie that was so awful, it was like, please, can I have my money back? This thing is horrible. One movie that I didn't ask for my money back, but I wanted to, was Napoleon Dynamite. I thought that was the absolute worst movie, but that movie had hypnotic powers. Because if you were to ask me today, what's one of those iconic movies you watched, 30 years ago that you really enjoyed and thought was great, I would say Napoleon Dynamite. That movie is really iconic. Everybody loves it, but it's one of the few movies that if you ask people, what did you think of that movie the very first time you saw it? A lot of people will tell you, man, I thought that movie sucked. Tell me you guys remember what I'm talking about. Did you guys see Napoleon Dynamite? If you did, do you agree with me? The first time you see it, you can't help but think this movie is awful. And then by the second, third, fourth time you watch it, you're like, let's watch that bad boy again. That was such a great movie. A lot of people don't know that one of the girls in that movie is Hilary Duff's sister. I remember when my kids were growing up, they absolutely loved Hilary Duff. I forget the name of her show. If you guys can remember the name of Hilary Duff's show, let us know down in the comments. But I just remember my son and daughter both idolized her. And then when that movie came out, it was like, hey, let's go watch Hilary Duff's sister. I think her sister is named Haley Duff, but I forget. But I just remember there's a tetherball scene there where her and Napoleon are playing tetherball. And my goodness, when I was a kid, tetherball was king. God, so many boys and girls at my grade school played tetherball and 2-square and 4-square. Very, very fun games. If you were either a 2-square or a tetherball legend, please let me know down in the comments. Those things just, they bring a smile to my face, and I don't see too many kids playing tetherball anymore. But that's one of the things that I've thought about putting in my backyard is a tetherball court. But my goodness, I would be the only one to play. And who the hell wants to play a game of tetherball by themselves? Make this company, call it Recess, make it where when you enter the building, you can play tetherball, you can play 4-square, you can play these non-traditional games that people used to always play. Badminton, make games that you don't normally play. So in other words, you would go in there is no basketball court, even though they could definitely put one in there that would qualify as a recess type sport, right? But the problem with that is you're going to create a situation where you get the normal cast of characters playing basketball and ignoring the tetherball courts. I would make it where you were kind of forced to play tetherball and 2-square, and maybe they have a pickleball court in there, just games that are alternative sports. God, those would be fun games to play. And you know what would be the benefit? If you got yourself a gym membership at this place we'll call Recess, you could probably lose 20 or 30 pounds just by diving back into our childhood lives. Could you imagine if you became a tetherball champion at the age of 50? That would be awesome. If you love tetherball, let me know. Oh my God, my buddy Jason, bless his soul, he's no longer with us. He was one of those tetherball champions. He was unstoppable. Man, and that was one of those games where it was pretty much co-ed. People could play boys, they could play girls, you know, and he would win every time, from what I remember, or at least a great majority of the time. But every now and then there would be a girl that would be king of the court for a while, and it was one of these games where if you won, you played the next person, right? So you could literally become really good at it and never lose court. Now, the good thing is, with recess back in the day, it was, 15 or 20 minutes. So even if you won a game or two, it wasn't like you were completely hogging the courts, you know. God, I really miss the world that we used to live in. And it's so funny because I'm constantly told how everything was backwards back in the day. But man, back in the day before we had cell phones, when we were actually social creatures that went out and met people, man, you really got to meet some interesting characters. Now, when you meet people online, you're meeting their persona. You're meeting that person that they're trying to put out there, right? And a lot of times you end up finding out that the real them is not so genuine, not so fun-loving, not such a good human being. A lot of times we're disappointed when we meet the real person, you know? And that's what's kind of cool about my show here. I feel like you guys get a genuine idea of who I am as a person. This is me. I love walking. Oh my goodness, this is the most adorable dog ever. Look at this dog. Hi. How are you? What a cutie. Oh, he's trying to take a dump. Let's let him take a dump in peace. Dog's walking around with half of a poop sticking out of his back end. We'll let him have his privacy. Yeah, so anyway, those are the thoughts that pervade my mind, guys. I think back to yesterday, but again, it might be because I'm walking in a neighborhood where I'm constantly walking right by old friends' homes. And it is kind of weird because with a lot of these houses, I've been inside them a lot of times before the people that live in them now, you know, ever even knew this neighborhood existed. That's one of those things you get when you become the ghost of the neighborhood. Maybe that's what I'll name a second YouTube channel. If I ever get a second YouTube channel up and running, I'll name it Ghost of the Neighborhood. Because one of these days I'm going to be an 80-year-old guy walking in this neighborhood. And even if I ended up selling this house someday, I would probably still bring my camera back once a year or so and do a walking show from this neighborhood. But you want to know something? My grandmother had a wish that we would keep this home in the family for a long time. Even at the very end of her life, like the last couple days, she was very territorial when it came to her home. "This is my home," she would yell. And it's like, Grandma, you know, we're already fitting you for a coffin. You know, do you really need to talk that way? We're trying to get you to lose a couple pounds, Grandma, so you'll fit in the coffin. Totally kidding. You guys know I love and adore my grandma. One of the things my grandma had, though, was an excellent little sense of humor. Although she was one of the most loving people I ever met, she was not lovey-dovey. If you told her you love her, she would say she loved you back. But if you went in for a hug and a kiss, you know, she treated me like any other girl. She rejected it half the time. So the main thing is, enjoy your neighborhood. Have a great walk. I'm sorry once again if I came across as a babbling guy, but you want to know something? Sometimes just babbling helps me wake up and prepare for the day. So now when I go make phone calls to special education teachers, seeing if they are still available for the school year, I've already got the tongue moving and the lips moving and the vocabulary going. So have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow.